we're going to do this for every conference across college football, but we're going to go ahead and project the top 10 quarterbacks in each conference. Now, notice, projecting versus current ranking is going to be different. We already have a current ranking out for the top 10 quarterbacks in the sport that were starters a year ago. This is different. Not only is it conference specific, it's also a projection to what we think this looks like at the end of the season. Okay, so with that being said, let's go 10 up to 1 here, the top 10 quarterbacks in the SEC. I'm going to go ahead and project Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt, sitting at number 10. Now, the numbers for him are not going to be crazy when you look at his stats. He may not throw for the most yards or score the most touchdowns, but what he is to Vanderbilt within that system, there is no way to overstate that. I'll also say this. He came by the studios in Nashville here not that long ago, and he said something to the effect of he was going to try to win the Heisman Trophy. Dude's a dog. Diego Pavia, to me, strikes me as a guy who's got a screw loose in a good way. And when I visited Cornell for the first time on an unofficial visit, I had a host, and the host told me, he's like, hey, man, everybody here is pretty nice, but us as our team, like we don't really mess with the wrestlers because they're pretty crazy. Not bad dudes, but like we make sure we steer clear. We don't get in their way. They're crazy. I feel the same way about Diego Pavia. I'm not betting against him. Dude's crazy. He's at number 10, and I think he makes some noise again this year, much like last year in the SEC. Now, at number 9, again, projection, but Georgia's Gunnar Stockton, this could change after the spring game if we get a chance to watch their spring game, if they follow through on the broadcast and all that stuff. I am fully prepared to take him off the list or put him much higher based on what we see. But doesn't he just seem like if you put in, hey, ChatGPT, what is like the model for a Georgia football player look like? Like what's the story arc for them? I think that the model would spit out something like Gunnar Stockton. He is an AI Georgia player to me. Top 10 player at his position when he came out of high school. Waits his turn, doesn't play for a while, probably gets some scout team reps, plays his role when he's called upon, comes up big, and the SEC title game, Georgia wins the SEC because of how he played in the second half, and he threw for the most yards against Notre Dame than anybody else in the college football playoff. Now, was he perfect? No, but there was enough there for me to get excited about. There was enough there for me to feel like if he had more weapons around him in his Mike Bubble offense, he could be successful. Again, threw for more yards than Drew Aller from Penn State and Will Howard from Ohio State last year against that real deal Notre Dame defense. So Gunnar Stockton from Georgia for me, pending him winning the job, he is number 9 on this list. Now, number 8, a cat that we haven't seen a lot of, similar to Gunnar Stockton, Ole Miss's Austin Simmons. Now, for me, the thing with him is I like all the clues, dude. Like, a guy who was hand-selected by Lane Kiffin to be his quarterback, had a Mona Lisa of a drive against Georgia when Jackson Dart goes in the tent, got the baseball background. You can't totally see the full picture just yet because none of us can. We haven't seen the dude play college football in a real large sample size, but I like all the clues, and I also, we'll just call a spade here, I like a Lane Kiffin offense for any quarterback, so I think he'll have success. He's number 8 on this list for me, projecting to 2025. Number 7, this is a guy with top 3 ability, but Nico Iamaleava from Tennessee is who I'm putting at 7 as it stands right now. I want to see it, dude. How many times did Cato and I get in here during the week and talk about wanting to see Tennessee connect on some vertical passing game? I love the run game. I love the defense. But like Nico Iamaleava, they're going to ask a lot more of him next year because I don't think you have the same run game. I don't think you have the same defense. Not that it won't still be good, but I think it will have to be a lot more quarterback driven. The tough thing with trying to evaluate Nico is the potential, and what he is always how you're trying to bridge the gap. Like in some ways we grade Nico against his potential, which is that fair? Not totally. Is it the reality? I think so. The other part of this is we've also seen what quarterbacks can be in the Josh Heupel offense. Like Hendon Hooker, in some ways, totally distorted our view of what Nico Iamaleava was supposed to be at Tennessee with all the hype he came in with. So I love the ability. I want to see it a little more. I have to project a little more, but I want to see it, and I think there's enough juice there for him to shoot up this list as time progresses. At number 6, I got Marcel Reed from A&M. I think this is a dude who could boom into the top 3, to be real with y'all. I think he's that good. He, just like we said with Diego Pavia, Marcel Reed just got some psycho to him. Talk about Cam Ward and the way that he walked out against Florida and just had what seemingly ice water in his blood and was out there playing pickup. That was the same thing I saw from Marcel Reed when he got tapped in against Florida. Like, it was moments before kickoff, and we're all like, oh, hey, actually, Connor Wegman's not playing. This is dude who's like a redshirt freshman, and Marcel Reed went out and got buckets. He also now has a full offseason where Colin Klein, I believe, is going to fully tailor the offense to him. You sprinkle in some more weapons. Dude can spin it now. Just because he's mobile doesn't mean he can't throw the football downfield. You go watch that Auburn tape, he's dropping dimes. So Marcel Reed, to me, I'm going to go ahead and project him at 6. Would not be surprised if he finishes a lot higher when it's all said and done. Now, at number 5, we'll talk about this guy a little bit later in the show as well, but Arch Manning, you got to do something with him. 5 feels like the right place to put him. I love the floor for him. I love what's around him. I don't think he's going to crash the car that is Texas football. Reason why I feel that way, he got 2 years to watch somebody else drive it, and now he has arguably the greatest play caller in the sport in Steve Sarkisian. The other thing I like for him, I don't think that he is going to be just totally leaned on from the jump. Now, big game against Ohio State early, so Arch better eat your Wheaties, baby. But I think they're going to share the load with him a little bit in the sense that they're going to run the football. They're going to do, I think, a lot of RPO stuff to try and get defenses off balance. I like the fit a lot. I like the ability. I like what we've seen. And I think he's a top 5 guy when it's all said and done in the SEC this season. DJ Lagway from Florida, for me, is at 4. He's shown us more than an Arch Manning to this point, so that's why I have him there. Also, he's played some SEC football. That should not be just looked past. He showed you what he's about last year, being able to take over with Graham Mertz going down. Y'all, Florida hasn't had a guy like him at quarterback since Tim Tebow. And that sounds big to say, but that's genuinely how I feel. He's legitimately a game changer to the point where if you're a Florida fan, you're allowed to, for the first time in a minute, talk about competing for the SEC championship. Now, I'm not predicting that right now, but if you were to tell me that were to happen, I wouldn't be all that shocked by it because of who DJ Lagway is, because of his skill set, because of the fact that he elevates everyone around him. Finished the year 6-1 as a starter. Now, I get it. You missed the Texas game. The one loss, though, was against Georgia where, let's face it, they kind of had Georgia on the ropes. So I love everything about DJ Lagway. Love the way he's wired. Love the fact that they have some pieces coming back for him in Gainesville. I got him at 4 heading into next year when it comes to our projection for the end of the season. Now, at number 3, Oklahoma's John Mateer. He might be college football's best-kept secret, y'all, to be real, because he played at Washington State. Not a lot of people got to watch his games. You kind of know the name because he's that Oklahoma transfer, and he goes over with his OC. To me, he is everything that Oklahoma has been missing offensively. Playmaker, juice, ad-lib, all those things. Like, what he brings, I think he's not going to miss a beat in Norman, Oklahoma. Now, the competition will be better, but Ben Arbuckle, his offensive coordinator, John Kuzieski, his quarterback coach, both in Norman right now, he's not playing catch-up at all. He doesn't have to hit the reset like you see other transfer quarterbacks have to do. Love the ability, love the playmaker, like I just said. I think he balls out next season for Oklahoma, and I think Oklahoma is going to be in good shape because of who they have at quarterback. So I got him at number 3 heading into next season. At number 2, Garrett Nussmeier is the most sure thing in the league. If you had him at 1, I wouldn't push back too much, to be real. Like, he threw for over 4,000 yards last year, but the thing that I love about him going into 25 is none of this is new to him anymore. Like, it wasn't new to him a season ago because he had been around college football and prepared like the starter and all that good stuff, but it's impossible to replicate what it is walking into a game in early November against Alabama when it's a home game and there's playoff implications. There's no way to replicate that kind of juice. Now, when that happens again for Garrett Nussmeier, whatever game they're walking into, there's going to be a sense of, I think, different poise that he has from having taken the lumps a season ago. And taking the lumps is putting it maybe a little bit too harshly. Again, over 4,000 yards, 525 attempts, had no run game behind him, gets better weapons, another year as the guy, another year in the system. Garrett Nussmeier, I'd buy all the stock that I could find at this point in time. A big reason why we're high on LSU on the show. Big reason why we think they make the playoff. Now, if we're talking about buying stock, I think it's impossible for me to have bought more stock in any player in college football going into a season than LaNorris Sellers. So, y'all, we're swinging big here. Like, a lot of people will try and, walk the line and ride the fence in the offseason, and we'll do some of that, but we're not doing that here. The physical traits, the special playmaking ability, What he did at the end of last season, I'm all in on LaNorris Sellers. Truly, I think he is that good. I think he is that good, and I think he's going to be the best quarterback in college football next year. I think he is going to be in contention for the Heisman Trophy, and I think he will carry South Carolina to the college football playoff. That's how we feel. So to recap it here, projecting these quarterbacks, again, this is assuming now we have the time machine, look up at the end of November, the regular season. The top 10 quarterbacks in the SEC will be as follows. Diego Pavia at 10, Gunnar Stockton from Georgia at 9, assuming he wins the job. Austin Simmons at 8, Nico Iamaleava at 7, Marcel Reed at 6, Arch Manning at 5, DJ Lagway at 4, Jonathan Matier at Oklahoma at number 3, Garrett Nussmeier at 2, and LaNorris Sellers at number 1. Those are our pre-spring now projections. We may have to revisit those after the spring, but that's how we feel right now, and we'll stand on business with those. All right? Now, Cato and I were talking before, man. Cato's a Nuss guy, and I'm glad that one of us is taking Nuss as number 1. Cato, Nuss number 1 for you probably? Yeah, number 1. That's a good bet, man. That's not a bad bet by any stretch of the imagination. Also, quick little Easter egg here. If you are not subscribed to the podcast feed, I would do that. Some extra content on there that is worth your while. That's all I'll say. Go ahead and subscribe there. Spotify, Apple, wherever you get them. Hard Count with JD PicKell. You can find us there.